cheating husband leaves his dying wife, but her revenge will shock you. Welcome, loyal viewers. If you're ready for a tale of love, betrayal, and the unexpected twists of fate, you're in the right place. I'm your narrator, and today on Will I Be Happy, we dive into the chilling story of Monica, whose perfect life unravels when illness strikes. Her husband's loyalty is put to the ultimate test. Grab your popcorn, settle in, and prepare for a roller coaster of emotions. Trust me, you want to take advantage of every moment of this gripping tale. Monica Riddler's life had once been a tapestry of vibrant colors. She and Bill had crafted a life together that was the envy of all who knew them in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Their marriage was the stuff of fairy tales, built on love, trust, and mutual respect. Friends and family often remarked on how perfectly matched they were, each complementing their strengths and weaknesses. Bill was the rock upon which Monica leaned, the one who made her laugh when she was down and held her hand when she was scared. But all that changed when Monica fell ill. It started innocently enough, mild headaches and a bit of fatigue. Monica, ever the optimist, brushed it off as stress from work. After all, she had always been healthy, with a robust constitution that rarely succumbed to the common cold. But as the weeks turned into months, her symptoms worsened. The headaches became migraines, and the fatigue turned into debilitating exhaustion that left her bedridden for days at a time. She began to lose weight rapidly, and her once vibrant skin took on a sallow hue. It was clear that something was seriously wrong. Bill, who had always been attentive and caring, initially stepped up to the challenge with the same resolve he had shown in all aspects of their life together. He drove Monica to doctor's appointments, stayed with her through countless tests, and held her hand when the results came back inconclusive. No one could figure out what was wrong with her. Specialists were consulted, and second and third opinions were sought, but Monica's health continued to decline. The couple, who had once spent their evenings discussing their future plans, now found themselves in a holding pattern, waiting for answers that never seemed to come. The strain on Bill was palpable. He had always been the strong one who held everything together. Still, the uncertainty of Monica's illness weighed heavily on him. He started taking on extra work, partly to cover the mounting medical bills. Still, also, Monica suspected, to distract himself from the grim reality of their situation. Monica noticed his subtle changes. He was quieter and more withdrawn, and his once boundless patience began to wear thin. He still tried to be there for her, but his visits to her hospital room became less frequent, his excuses more varied. Monica, ever understanding, chalked it up to the stress of the situation. She didn't want to burden him further by voicing her fears. But deep down, a nagging feeling began to grow. Monica started to feel like she was losing Bill, not just to the pressures of her illness, but to something else, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. She tried to dismiss the thought, telling herself that she was being paranoid, that Bill was simply overwhelmed. After all, he had been her rock through so much. But the distance between them grew as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months. Bill started coming home later and later, and when he did, he was distant and distracted. His once warm embraces were replaced with perfunctory pecks on the cheek, and his reassuring words became few and far between. One evening, after Bill had left the hospital earlier than usual, Monica turned to her sister, Isabella, with a weak smile. "Do you think he's just stressed? Maybe he's overwhelmed by all this," she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Isabella hesitated before responding, her eyes dark with concern. "Monica, I think there's something more going on with Bill. I don't want to upset you, but you deserve to know the truth." Monica's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? What is the truth?" Isabella took a deep breath, her words heavy with dread. "I've heard rumors, Mon. People have seen him with another woman. I didn't want to believe it, but I had to tell you." The revelation hit Monica like a freight train. She felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room, leaving her gasping for breath. "How could he?" she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "How could he do this to me?" Isabella placed a comforting hand on her sister's shoulder. "I'm so sorry, Monica. I wish it wasn't true." Just as Monica's world seemed crumbling around her, Isabella hesitated momentarily before adding, "But there's something else you should know. I overheard something at the hospital. The doctors, they don't think your illness is natural." Monica's eyes widened in shock. "What are you saying, Isabella?" "I'm saying," Isabella continued carefully, "that someone might be trying to make you sick." The days following Isabella's revelation were some of the darkest Monica had ever experienced. She was consumed by a whirlwind of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, but above all, a deep sense of loss. It was as if the foundation of her life had crumbled beneath her, leaving her adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The man she had trusted with her heart had turned out to be a stranger capable of the most profound betrayal. And yet, as much as she wanted to confront Bill and demand answers, she couldn't bring herself to do it. Not yet. Monica knew she needed to be smart about this. She was too weak to take on Bill head-on and didn't want to tip her hand too soon. If he was planning something, she needed to figure out what it was before she moved. So, she played the part of the unsuspecting wife, hiding her newfound knowledge behind a mask of indifference. It wasn't easy. Every time she looked at Bill, she felt a surge of anger and disgust, but she forced herself to stay calm, to keep her emotions in check. She couldn't afford to make a mistake. Bill, for his part, seemed oblivious to the turmoil raging inside Monica. He continued to visit her, though less frequently than before, always with some excuse for why he couldn't stay long. Monica watched him closely, noting the subtle changes in his behavior, the way he avoided her gaze and fidgeted when she asked him about his day. It was clear that he was hiding something, but Monica needed more than just suspicions. She needed proof. Isabella, who had always fiercely protected her sister, took it upon herself to gather the evidence Monica needed. She started following Bill, watching his movements, documenting his whereabouts. It didn't take long for her to confirm what she had suspected. Bill was indeed having an affair, and he was brazen about it. He took his mistress to the same places he had once taken Monica, flaunting his betrayal as if he didn't care who saw. Isabella confronted him once, but he dismissed her threats with a smirk, confident that Monica was too weak to do anything about it. But Monica was not as helpless as Bill thought. Despite her illness, she still had her wits about her, and she was determined to turn the tables on him. She began to lay the groundwork for her plan, enlisting Isabella's help in securing a new lawyer, one who would help her rewrite her will without Bill's knowledge. Monica knew that Bill was counting on inheriting her estate, and she was determined to ensure he got nothing. It was a slow and meticulous process, requiring careful planning and patience. Still, Monica was willing to do whatever it took. As the weeks passed, Monica's health continued to decline. She was in and out of the hospital, her body growing weaker by the day. But despite her physical deterioration, her mind remained sharp, focused on the task at hand. Bill, who had long since stopped pretending to care, continued his affair with increasing boldness, spending more and more time with his mistress and less time at home. Monica watched it all unfold with a growing sense of detachment, her anger giving way to a cold determination. She was done being the victim. It was time to take control. One evening, after Bill had left the hospital, Monica turned to Isabella with a determined expression. "It's time," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Isabella nodded, understanding immediately what Monica meant. They had been planning this for weeks, waiting for the right moment to implement their plan. Now, with Monica's health rapidly deteriorating, there was no more time to waste. But as they prepared to finalize the changes to Monica's will, Isabella received an anonymous tip that left them both reeling. The tip revealed that Bill had already visited a lawyer, not to secure his future, but to change Monica's life insurance policy. According to the tipster, the new policy would leave Bill with nothing unless Monica's death was ruled a homicide. Monica's eyes widened in horror. "Isabella, do you think he's trying to—" Monica's voice was grim. It's possible, Mon. He might be trying to cover all his bases. He might be planning something worse if he can't get your estate. Monica shivered, her heart pounding in her chest. The betrayal ran more profoundly than she had ever imagined. Bill wasn't just cheating on her, he was potentially plotting her murder. Monica's illness continued its relentless assault, but now there was something that fueled her fight: revenge. Her plan formed quietly, even as she lay bedridden. Bill, meanwhile, was becoming more brazen in his affair. He had moved his mistress, a woman named Dana, international, into the home he once shared with Monica, confidently believing his dying wife would never find out. But Monica knew everything and wouldn't let Bill's betrayal define her end. With the help of Isabella, Monica began setting the pieces in motion. She had been manipulated into signing documents she believed were related to her medical care. Still, they were amendments to her will, ensuring Bill would get everything upon her death. Unbeknownst to Bill, Monica arranged for a new legal team to investigate. The more they uncovered, the more they realized how deeply Bill's deception ran. As Monica's health further declined, she had one final act to play before her time ran out, a twist that would leave Bill utterly devastated. Bill was blissfully unaware of Monica's growing plans. He believed that once she passed, his life with Dana would be one of luxury, funded by Monica's inheritance. As time passed, Bill grew impatient, frequently checking the mailbox, expecting a notification of Monica's death. But nothing came. Frustration grew as Bill realized Isabella had cut off communication and seemed to withhold information. Meanwhile, Monica's secret plan unfolded. She made sure that Bill's expectations would crumble once she was gone. Her legal team worked to remove him from her will, and documents were signed that would leave him with nothing. Bill continued his life with Dana, unaware that the very foundation of his future was slowly being dismantled. He was so consumed by greed and lust for his new life that he failed to see the storm brewing. Monica's vengeance would be swift, leaving Bill with nothing but regret when it hit. One afternoon, as Bill was pacing in his office, waiting for the inevitable news, he received a phone call from his lawyer. "Bill," the lawyer's voice came through, calm and measured. "We need to discuss something important regarding your wife's estate." "What is it?" Bill snapped, already irritated by the delay. "There's been a change," the lawyer replied. "Monica's will has been amended and you're no longer the beneficiary." Bill's heart stopped. "What do you mean? How could that happen? She's dying. She wouldn't have the strength to do that." "That's not all," the lawyer continued, his tone turning somber. "There's been a police investigation. They've discovered traces of poison in Monica's system." Bill's world turned upside down. "Poison? That's impossible. But the lawyer cut him off. "Bill, they've connected the poison to you. I suggest you get your affairs in order." Bill's hand shook as he dropped the phone, the reality of his situation crashing down on him. Not only had he lost everything, but now he was facing a murder investigation. And the worst part? Monica was still alive. Monica's condition had reached a critical point, and she knew her time was limited. But with the discovery of the poison and the knowledge that Bill had been plotting her death, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't going to let him win. She would expose him for the monster he indeed was, even if it was the last thing she ever did. Isabella had been her rock through it all, the one person she could count on when everything else seemed to be falling apart. She had taken on the role of Monica's protector, her guardian, and she was determined to see justice served. Together, they had crafted a plan that would strip Bill of everything he had taken for granted and expose him for the fraud he indeed was. The first step was ensuring that Bill learned what was coming. Monica continued to play the role of the dutiful dying wife, never letting on that she knew about his affair or his plans to inherit her estate. She acted as though she were still clinging to the hope that they would have a future together, even as her body wasted away. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar, and Bill, ever the narcissist, bought it hook, line, and sinker. Meanwhile, Isabella was busy gathering evidence, documenting every move Bill made. She hired a private investigator to follow him, to take pictures of him with Dana International, to collect any piece of evidence that would prove his infidelity. The private investigator was thorough, capturing everything from Bill's clandestine meetings with Dana to the money he spent on her. It was all building a case against him, so he got nothing when Monica passed. As the evidence piled up, Monica's resolve only grew stronger. She was determined to see Bill's downfall, to watch as everything he had built came crashing down around him. She knew it was petty, that she should focus on her health and well-being, but she couldn't help it. Bill had taken everything from her, her trust, love, and sense of security, and she wanted to see him suffer for it. The next step in their plan was to confront Bill with the evidence, but in a different way than he might expect. Monica wanted to catch him off guard, to make him realize that he had underestimated her. So, she had Isabella arrange a meeting at their lawyer's office under the guise of updating their wills. Ever the opportunist, Bill agreed without hesitation, thinking it was just another step toward securing his future. When the day of the meeting arrived, Monica was too weak to leave her bed, so Isabella went in her place. She arrived at the lawyer's office, the evidence folder tucked under her arm, and was shown into the conference room where Bill was already waiting. He greeted her with a smug smile, clearly believing that he was about to secure his fortune. But Isabella had other plans. The lawyer, who had been briefed on the situation, started the meeting by reviewing the updates to Monica's will. Bill listened attentively, nodding along as the lawyer explained how everything would go to him upon Monica's death. He was so engrossed in his fantasies of wealth and freedom that he didn't notice the cold, steely look in Isabella's eyes. But that changed when the lawyer handed Isabella the floor. With a calm, measured tone, Isabella began to lay out the evidence. She detailed Bill's affair with Dana International, showing the photos, the receipts, and the documentation of every lie he had told. Bill's smug smile faded as she spoke, replaced by a look of shock and disbelief. He tried to interrupt, to deny what was being said, but Isabella cut him off, her voice rising with a righteous fury that had been building for months. "Did you really think you could get away with this?" she demanded, her eyes blazing with anger. "Did you really think that Monica would just roll over and die, leaving you to live the life you've been planning with that woman? You're a fool, Bill, a selfish, pathetic fool, and now you're going to pay for what you've done." Bill was speechless, his mind racing as he tried to process what was happening. He had always thought of himself as the smart one, the one who could outmaneuver anyone. But now, as he sat there, exposed and humiliated, he realized just how wrong he had been. Monica had outplayed him, and there was nothing he could do about it. The lawyer, who had been watching the exchange with a neutral expression, cleared his throat and addressed Bill directly. "Mr. Riddler, it's clear that your actions have been less than honorable. As a result, Monica has decided to amend her will. Effective immediately, you are no longer the beneficiary of her estate. Instead, all assets will be donated to charity. You will receive nothing." But just as Bill thought things couldn't get any worse, the door to the conference room opened and a police officer stepped in. "Mr. Riddler," the officer said, his voice firm, "you're under arrest for the attempted murder of your wife." Bill's eyes widened in horror as the officer began reading his rights. The world spun around him, and he realized he had been caught in his own web of deceit. Monica had set him up, and now he was facing the consequences of his actions. As he was led out of the office in handcuffs, Bill caught sight of Isabella's cold, satisfied smile. "This isn't over!" he hissed at her, his voice laced with venom. "Oh, it's over, Bill," Isabella replied calmly, "and you've lost." But just as Bill was being led away, Isabella received a text message that made her blood run cold. It was from an unknown number, so simply read, "You're next." With Bill's arrest, Monica finally felt a sense of closure. She had been through hell and back, but she had survived. She had exposed Bill for the monster he truly was, and now he was facing the consequences of his actions. But as much as she wanted to move on, one final loose end needed to be tied up. The text message Isabella received was troubling, to say the least. It suggested that someone else was involved in the plot to kill Monica, someone who had yet to be revealed. Isabella immediately showed the message to the police, who were investigating the matter, but they had no leads so far. Monica couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than what had been uncovered. She had always suspected that Bill's affair with Dana International was more than just a fling. Something deeper was at play. But with Bill behind bars, she had hoped that the worst was over. Now, she wasn't so sure. Isabella had taken it upon herself to investigate further, determined to find out who had sent the message. She started digging into Bill's past, looking for any connections that might explain the threat. What she discovered was a tangled web of lies and deceit that went far beyond anything she had imagined. Bill had been involved in some shady dealings over the years, from business scams to fraudulent investments. But what shocked Isabella the most was the revelation that Bill had been part of a secret society, a group of influential individuals who operated in the shadows. Dana had also been involved in this group, and it seemed that their relationship was more than just an affair. It was a partnership in crime. Isabella knew that she had to tread carefully. The people she was dealing with were dangerous. She could be in serious trouble if they knew she was onto them, but she couldn't let it go. Monica had already suffered enough and wasn't about to let her sister become a victim again. As Isabella dug deeper, she uncovered more details about the secret society and its members. They were a group of wealthy and influential individuals who had been using their power to manipulate events for years. Their connections in politics, law enforcement, and the media made them virtually untouchable, and now they were coming after Isabella. One evening, as Isabella reviewed her findings, she received another text message. This one was more direct. "Stop digging, or you'll regret it." Isabella's heart raced as she read the message. She knew she was getting close to something big, something that the secret society didn't want to be revealed. But she also knew that backing down wasn't an option. She had come too far and was determined to see it through. The next day, Isabella met with Monica to discuss what she had uncovered. "Monica, I think there's more to this than just Bill," she said, her voice tense with urgency. "There's a group of people involved in this who are very powerful and dangerous. I've been digging into their activities, and I think they're the ones who sent that message." Monica's eyes widened in shock. "What do you mean? What kind of people are we talking about?" Isabella took a deep breath before replying. "I'm talking about a secret society, Monica. A group of wealthy and powerful individuals who have been manipulating events behind the scenes for years. Bill was involved with them, and so was Dana. They're the ones who have been trying to kill you." Monica felt a chill run down her spine. "But why? What do they want from me?" "I don't know yet," Isabella admitted, "but I'm going to find out, and when I do, we will expose them for who they really are." But just as they were about to leave, Monica received a phone call that sent shockwaves through her system. It was from the hospital, informing her that the poison in her system was not as she had believed. "Monica," the doctor said, his voice filled with concern, "we've discovered that the poison was a slow-acting substance that's been in your system for months. But there's more. It's designed to mimic a natural illness. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." Monica's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. The secret society hadn't just been trying to kill her. They had been experimenting on her, using her as a test subject for their twisted games. As Monica and Isabella left the hospital, they knew the battle was far from over. They had exposed Bill, but the real enemy was still watching and waiting. And now, they had a new mission, to bring down the secret society and end their reign of terror. But as they drove away, a figure watched them from the shadows, a figure who had been pulling the strings all along. With a sly smile, the figure whispered, "This is just the beginning." And there you have it, loyal viewers. What an end to Monica's story. She fought through every challenge and emerged stronger, with a tale of triumph and resilience. But remember, the journey doesn't end here. There are more stories to tell, and more lessons to learn. So be sure to subscribe to Will I Be Happy and stay tuned for the next thrilling plot. Thanks for being with us on this wild ride. And as always, keep watching and stay happy.